Alright. More gas, no brakes. So basically 6 max coaching in English. We're gonna play snap poker at 888Poker, and we're gonna play 2 tables. I would like to get a confirmation whether I can be properly heard, or if the sound is good or close to good. If 2 tables seems to be too hard to follow, please comment, or if you have any questions or comments about just about anything, do not hesitate to leave a comment to the chat box. As you can most likely hear from now, English is not my native language, but hopefully we'll manage to get this through. And we have a plan of me hosting poker nights in English every 2 weeks, so twice a month, and the other 2 weeks will be in Finnish. This week, as the last one, is 6 max cash games, and the next 2 will most likely be heads up. Good to know. So I'll name the tables 1 and 2, and so far there hasn't been too many things to discuss. But well, in the table number 1 we have a first decision, really, whether to call a 3-bet or not. I don't really know too much about this guy, but we are more than $10 deep, so I think it can't be too bad, because it wasn't too big of a 3-bet. No, I don't play snap poker. I really don't play too much at 888Poker now. I used to play more on December, and when I played NL50 and some NL200. I would have played the NL100 as well, but it really didn't run. It's for some reason the NL200 run more often than NL100. But no, I don't play snap too much. We got 3-bet with the ace king, and I think against unknown with such stack sizes I'm just gonna 4-bet call even from these positions, and unknown with 30 big blinds 3-bet sauce. And I last week we got to see some of the hands they do it with, so I'm not gonna fold hand this good. And yeah, we are not gonna love this. It's usually pretty strong holding we are facing, but I'm not gonna fold this. And yeah. So no, I don't really play snap. One of my strengths, I believe, is how I managed to use my heart or heads up display, and I use the data that I get to collect pretty well. So I think it's a little bit disadvantage to not get that much information. And as you can see, the HUD doesn't work in snap poker, but I think we'll manage. That's pretty weird. But yeah, I'll do it. I actually have no idea why they are not completely visible, since they should be. But yeah, thanks Daya. These games appear to be pretty soft, so even though you don't get to use a hard, and good players usually get more advantage or bigger edge with hearts. The games are so soft that it really doesn't matter. Did you shove? No, I called a 30 big blind 3-bet shove. Yeah, we have a little bit of the delay here, because even though this makes stakes are small, I don't want to get abused or anything, so just to be sure, we have a small delay here. So if you comment on a hand, please mention which table it is from and what the hand was, so it's easier for me to look after it. We haven't really had too hard decisions, because most of the hands have ended pre-flop, or the other times we have flopped top pair and continuation bet, and the villains have folded. On table number 2, I'm not gonna continuation bet. I mostly get action by better hands, and this is kind of flop I assume is gonna hit to a flatting range, calling range, whatever, from these positions pretty well. So I'm just going to not see bet this time, and I would have a ton of check calling hands there too, but that's a hand I'm just going to be happy to call, check and fold against the bet. Here a cutoff isolates a limper, so I'm happy to 3-bet ace queen. It's usually way ahead and isolation range, so you could argue about flatting, but I think ace queen is good enough to 3-bet for value. Ace jack I could have maybe just called. This is a spot where a good player is going to 3-bet quite a lot, because the small blind flatting here usually is not gonna be too strong. I would like to assume that he 3-bets his stronger holdings. So therefore, if this big blind guy seems anything like seems even a bit reggy or regular-ish, he might know that it's good spot to 3-bet. So therefore, 4-betting ace 2 suited is very good option for me, I think. And on 888Poker you always get to see for how long your opponent has has been sitting in, and for example in this scenario this guy has been sitting in for 45 minutes and he has $13, so he's a bit more likely to be a good player compared to maybe this guy on table 2 who hasn't been sitting for 1 minute and has a short stack. So he's a bit more likely to be a fun player, recreational player, and therefore I opted to continuation bet. Against some villains you could think about checking back even some aces. I was trying to consider whether I wanted to isolate or just limp behind in position. I opted to limp, and once the big blind makes it more than 5x, I think we are better off just folding. If I had maybe king queen, or if my queen 10 was suited, then I would have called the raise, but on the other hand, hands that strong, I would have isolated myself. Since it really seems that my English is very rusty at the moment, I haven't spoken English in about, I don't know for how long time, but hopefully I'll manage to explain everything even somewhat understandably, and if not, please ask. We didn't continuation bet here, and we delay continuation bet the turn, and we get called, and against a not full stack, I'm gonna value bet the river. This is a limped pot and we have a gut shot, so I'm gonna bet the flop myself, and it's pretty close between checking and betting on the turn. Basically, if we bet this turn, we are pretty often gonna bet 3 times to get more folds from 9s and 5s, but I know nothing about this guy other than the fact that he limped and he's playing with $6 stacks, so he's a bit more likely to be recreational. I 3x all the other positions, but the button I min raise, and I use something like 2.4x or something on a small blind. Basically, I want to have a very wide range on the small blind, so because average villain is gonna most likely be defending too tight, so when my range is wide, I want to have a smaller sizing, and I think 2.4 is somewhat better than just min raising. It looks bigger, and it's a bit bigger, but it looks more big than it actually is, I would say. Again, in this spot we get pretty good odds to call a 3-bet, because he has a full stack, and we don't really know how wide he 3-bets here. And on board, on such text as this is, we are definitely gonna call once, at least once. He's gonna continuation bet everything like king high and queen high hands, most likely, I would assume. And if he continued to bet with somewhat big sizings, I would have folded maybe on the turn, but I'm happy to see the river for free. He's not gonna continuation bet like nines every single time on this turn, or even jacks, or he shouldn't at least. So therefore we are not gonna this is not quite good enough hand for us to value bet, and it makes a ton of sense for him to have ace x hands here. What he so I'm about to lean towards folding, but he shouldn't have too many like flushes or better than trips, so I'm somewhat tempted to raise here, but because if he did pick up a flush draw on a turn, let's say with king queen of clubs or something, I would assume that he would be he would keep betting there most of the time. Only an assumption, but I think a pretty fair one. So therefore I think he's somewhat capped there. So in some circumstances, I don't know, in some scenarios against some villains I would have raised there, but in NL10 pool I don't think villains are too likely to make big folds, and folding ace x is somewhat big because it's a top pair and so on. So actually against a pot-sized UTG open I could have just flatted here, and I really don't like this scenario, but I don't like to 3-bet fold this hand. So yeah, it's pretty close whether 3-betting or flatting is better, but against pot-sized open I think flatting is definitely an option. And yeah, I'm gonna call, and that's pretty clear overplay by ace queen. If we are considering about whether we should 3-bet or not the ace king there, then 4-betting ace queen is just like he's gonna get called by the better ones and folds by my blocker 3-bet bluffs, which I actually don't have in that scenario too much. Yeah, it's, in my opinion, it's not that great of an idea to bet fives for a free showdown, because first of all, against his calling range we are almost always behind, and it's let's find the hand actually and talk about it. I'm gonna play these ones first. I'm gonna just 3-bet and trying to get it in with tens. Let's see if I manage to find the fives. fives quickly. Yeah. So basically on turn, pre-flop we faced a 3-bet and we called a continuation bet on turn. I don't like betting the turn against a check, because he's gonna have hands like such as 9s, 8s, 7s, maybe even jacks or better sometimes. So I think we are always gonna get called by those hands. So we are basically value turning ourselves. I don't know if ace x hands, or yeah, basically I don't know if ace highs will call us. So but those are maybe the only kind of hands that we get value from. And yeah, I think his range is too strong / our hand is too weak for us to bet here. And I don't like betting just to get a free showdown in this scenario, since almost every scenario after we bet is bad for us. He might even have like king queen of clubs, which he for some reason decides to check raise or check shove, in which case we end up folding, because I can't bet call. We end up folding the best hand, and yeah, there are not too many good outcomes after we bet. So I think checking is the best and the only option to consider here. It's true that we don't have too many 10x hands, but we do have like some full houses and some flushes in our range, so we don't need to rep only to 10x in this spot. But we get mean 3-bet against the big blind who's playing with a sword stack, and this is with ace jack. I think I would 4-bet. Ace 10 is just maybe a bit too weak, and I'm happy to call the mean bets. I'm gonna take a call down against the mean bets. Now he increases his sizing, and I think we can't call anymore. But yeah, getting a cheap showdown is pretty good option for us. So no need to raise in there at any street. Pre-flop is pretty close, but on flop and on turn, I think calling is just best. He might even, some people actually mean 3-bet and mean bet with the very strongest hands as well. Chip Leader, or what's your nickname? Chip Leader states that he would give him a pretty wide 3-bet range, small blinds against button, and he's definitely gonna, well, not definitely, but the best regulars or the good players at least tend to have pretty wide ranges in that scenario, but they are usually linear, meaning that, for example, if we look at the big blind, let's say both small blind and big blind 3-bet 15%. I don't know whether that's close or not for an average regular, but let's say they did. It's pretty logical for big blind, since he gets to close up the action. It's pretty logical for him to take some of the very best hands to 3-bet, and also some of the hands he can't flat with. So basically some of the, I don't know which of these, but some of the worse hands. And so basically this is called polarized 3-betting range, and big blind is usually gonna have polarized 3-betting range against button or cutoff opener, but on the other hand, the small blind is usually gonna have linear. So if he's gonna have the same 15%, it's usually just gonna be 15 best, 15 well, the very best hands. So let's say whether even if he had like 20% 3-betting range, and we have 5s, and the flop was 10-10-4. Well, we have to include the suits, but we are not in too good of a shape against, well, actually it was rainbow and turn opener flush draw. We are not in too good of a shape against his white 3-betting range, and I don't think it changes too much, no matter what we do to his range. But okay, it's pretty safe to say that he's not gonna have queens plus or any 10x hands too often. And what else? I don't know if I know how to use this, but I'm gonna try to take the ace-x of the hands with a flush draw out of these ace-x and king-x hands, and let's say he's not gonna continuation bet any of these. Yeah, so he's no, that's not correct. What do we need to do? We need to include these because he's gonna check with these when he checks the turn. So if we look at the range, and yeah, we have to this is not going as well as it could, but hopefully we'll get there. We're obviously going to take every other suit than the clubs. So basically he's gonna continuation bet. I don't know if he is, but let's say that he's gonna continuation bet with flush draws and queens plus and every single 10x and 6s. This might not be correct, but this is a assumption that I would make in the game spots. So with 5s we got somewhere around 57% equity, and the hands that call us from this range are 7s plus, I would think, and I don't think any of the king 10 shouldn't be there. I don't think any king high hand is gonna call us. Let's say that he's gonna call us with some of the ace-x hands, and those ace-x hands, the suited ones, need to have a flush draw. So this kind of balances the let's assume he continuation bets the turn sometimes with a flush draw and checks sometimes, so this could be somewhat close. And let's say ace king and ace queen for some reason. So basically against assumed range, when he checks the we can even take jacks away from there. So basically if we assume that he's gonna have 9s through 7s, some flush draws and some ace-x hands, we are basically flipping with 5s. So there's not that much value for us to bet on the turn. Well, he could, but again, we don't know anything about him. And 10-4 is a he would need to assume that we float there often enough for him to have a very wide turn c-betting range. So, and we have basically no history. He can't really know too much about us, and so on. And this is NL10, where basically floating and stuff like that doesn't happen too much. So basically he would have to be, I would say, pretty optimistic to c-bet there with all of his air hands, or even most of them, because I would say that on average people don't float too much, or people don't yeah, it's true, but again, when he checks he didn't c-bet the turn, and I did give him a, well, are you talking about the flop c-bet when you are talking about polarized range? Here we faced a mean bet on the flop, and that's basically a check for me, and he shouldn't have too many straights, and we have pretty much the worst hand we can have there, so I think bluffing there with it is a good option. I'm thinking we get enough folds from our opponents. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, we can discuss about the flop c-betting range and whether all of those hands are in there. But I think when thinking about the turn decision, which he opted not to c-bet, yeah, it's pretty hard to say whether ace-x hands continuation bet on these paired balls that much at these stakes, but if we assume that the the best ones do and the worst ones don't, because on 10-4 against my call 3-bet range, let's think about this decision first. We flatted, he didn't see, but I think 2 pair is just too good of a hand to fold there. Yeah, it's let's just look at the hand with the more polarized c-betting range later. I think if we we just spent 7 minutes reviewing that hand, and if we want to get a good range for villain against, if he uses a polarized c-betting range, that might change something, but I don't think it's gonna change the turn result too much. But we can look after that. In the end of this poke night, we can take a look at the more polarized c-betting range. I would have folded often, but against the min bet, I'm just gonna call, and I'm gonna take a call down against min bets. But even with the bottom pair, if he opted to c-bet with a bigger sizing, I would have been tempted to fold, because 10-8-7 is a texture that people don't c-bet too often, and c-bet bluff too often. It's one of those textures where c-betting range on average is way stronger than on some of the trier boards, because people assume that when I limp, when I flat a button open, I have a range that hits such texture very well. Yeah, I don't think that playing snap really changes the situation that much. I just don't think that globally, just about anywhere, betting the turn with the fives is a good idea. I think it's not a great idea. No matter whether you play regular tables or choom poker, or it doesn't really matter. I don't think betting turn is very good option, especially if you are aiming to get a free showdown. There are some situations where you can narrow your opponent's range into only to have a where you can narrow your opponent to have a very capped range on the turn, and there are some scenarios where you could bet twice to get sevens or eights or something like some hands like that to fold. But I don't know. I don't really think that betting a turn to get a free showdown is pretty much ever a good option or the best option. It might win money, but I think checking definitely wins more. Here I raised again the limper, and with jack high flush draw I'm definitely going to save it. Mean bet. I'm not gonna fold against a mean bet, even though he is. Well, it's just the thing that once he mean bets, it's pretty obvious that he's not gonna be the any sort of winning player, so he might end up showing just about anything. Again a flop, which I don't like to see bet against a cut-off calling range, and against a flop mean bet and turn 1/3 of the pot sized bet. I don't really think he's gonna have too many good hands. So against small bets I'm tempted to call, and that's a small enough. Let's say he has like 8s or 9s or whatever is somewhat reasonable calling hand. So I would think the good hands would like to bet bigger than just a mean bet on the flop. So okay, he mean bet with the top set. That happens sometimes, but I think calling is just fine against small bet, 3 small bets. Papatul has a would I bet it also kind of small just for folding equity. Yeah, basically I don't think the hands we get to fold and are worse than our hands, because I don't think any hand that is going to fold is gonna be better than ours. I don't think he's ever going to fold a better hand. So basically we get him to fold some of the hands that are, or almost all of the hands that are worse than ours. I don't think we can value bet 3 hands, so I'm just going to check the river. So basically we are going to get him to fold the better hands. Oh no, the worse hands, and none of those worse hands that checks the river, checks the turn, has too much equity against 5s. He's not gonna have too many flush draws, so I would say it's pretty unlikely that he's gonna have 2 overs and a flush draw. And if so, he's not gonna check fold too often, I think. This is a yucky spot. I opened and bet twice, and basically after this sizing, the only 2 hands I'm worried about are Jack 10 and pocket 9s. Just because it narrows down the thin value bets, and Jack 10 often would need to be with 2 diamonds. So it really didn't make too much sense for him to overbet this river against a, well, I don't know if I would have folded against any sized bet, but especially when he narrows his value range to pocket 9s, which there are 3 combos of, and the Jack 10 of diamonds, which there are only 1 combo of. So that's 4 combinations that would always need to play like this. So with even if he played every single combination we are afraid of this way, he would only need to have like 2 bluff combos, and with a flush draw missing, he's easily gonna have those. So against unknown, again, I'm just gonna call there. Might look a bit stationary, but it really didn't make too much sense for him to have a better hand. I opted to check raise here. With 2 overs and a gut shot, I think we are gonna have a lot of equity, but I don't like check calling, because I think check raising against a somewhat wide range is gonna be more profitable. So this guy who opened pre-flop doesn't continuation bet, so basically this button guy can, I don't know if he will or not, but can have a pretty wide betting range. And even if he had like 6x or 5x or some 7s, 8s, 9s, some kind of overpair that he didn't opt to 3-bet against a mean race, I think he's gonna end up folding. Maybe not on the flop, but on this spot we are going to check raise most turns, and again continue on most rivers, I think. But yeah, it obviously depends, and it's not easy to say whether in some spots whether checking or betting is definitely the best option. But so it's good to have some discussion about optional lines. But in that spot, I think betting for both free showdown and for folding equity, those are both reasons I would not like to bet for, because I don't think betting when we are basically value towning ourselves is too smart, and I don't think we get too much folding equity against a hands that have reasonable equity. So basically the hands that we get to fold have fairly small equity. This guy has just joined the pool and has a middle stack 53 big blinds or something when the hand started, so it's pretty hard to give him only combinations or hands that beat us. Against a mean betting guy, I'm just going to raise the turn and value bet twice when I actually make the straight. But yeah, open raising hands like 6 deuce suited I wouldn't always do, but against unknown NL10 players I think I can have fairly wide ranges, so I think I'm gonna open in against most opponents all of my suited hands. And this is a 4-way spot, and I wouldn't see that too much in here, but I think aces pair of aces is a hand I want to continuation, but we are actually pretty deep with two of these guys. So I don't actually like the cutoff guy flatting here. Yeah, I think having aces in my continuation bet range is pretty good idea, and when I see bet here in a spot that I don't usually see bet too much in, I want to have a bigger sizing, and against a check raise here I'm just going to fold. It might look very nitty, but we have a pretty wide, deep stacks, and usually people are pretty what's the word? They don't like to overplay hands with deep stacks. So I think he's gonna have some draws, queen jack sometimes, but almost all the value hands are gonna be better than ours is. So I'm just gonna fold, and seems like they are getting quite a lot chips in. So I think we usually made a good decision folding, and he ended up having top 2. It's interesting to see if we get to see what yeah, he had bottom set. So and I like to assume that when a card off with a deep stack flats me in this spot, he's usually gonna have like pretty good draw or a good hand. Obviously not always had this good, but I don't think he's ever going to raise a set if he's gonna have some set of 10s and all of the combinations of set of 5s. So he's gonna flat with all of those because he wants some of these guys to jump in. On such turn, I'm not going to. Yeah, this is 3-way. I'm definitely not going to bet. Even though we end up winning fairly often, it's gonna be a bit too light of a value bet. So yeah, it's always good to have a conversation or differing opinions when discussing strategy or hands. So even though oh, this is very small tree, but yeah, I'm just not gonna fold a hand against this one. Even though I wouldn't, we don't have an agreement about some lines, I would like for you guys to comment or ask. I would actually prefer betting this hand on turn myself. So that's a mistake I did against a pretty big bet. I don't think I'm gonna call. Yeah, I think in the last hand betting turn is best. Betting by myself is best. This is a spot which I'm again considering whether I want to see bet or not. I think I will. I'm pretty often gonna have some equity, and I don't like check calling ace king and so on. And he might bet some worse hands, so I don't like check folding also. So yeah, I'm tempted, but against a range I assume he's gonna have often, I think calling is gonna be losing play. Well, about players being nittier on snap, well, I would definitely say they are looser, but they are more loose passive. This is pretty close. I think I'm just gonna fold. This is again a spot I'm not sure about, but I 3-bet against an UTG opener and he called a continuation bet, so it's pretty hard for us to be good there. Yeah, I think it's clearly a fold. Yeah, somewhat similar spot where I isolated a limper and I don't want to. I think betting is better than check calling or check folding. We had 2 overs and backdoor flush draw and gut shot, so ton of equity, but I don't like check calling, even though we might end up in a situation where he's gonna fold all the call with all the better hands and fold all the worse hands, but given the equity we have, I think betting is still the better option. So yeah, I think players are definitely not neat here. I think they are looser, but they are more passive. They're just gonna be like calling stations mostly, and yeah, I think the regulars are because the random recreational player is gonna be a bit of the ATM type. I think the regulars are going to be a bit more straightforward kind of guys. So therefore you might see me playing fairly tight. I'm not 3-betting as much from blinds that I would at my stakes, or at, yeah, let's say if I play NL 50 or NL 100, I'm definitely going to 3-bet lighter against a late positional opener and gonna be more polarized in many situations, but at this player pool against his opponents I'm just going to have a fairly wide value range. Yeah, we have something like 30 minutes to go, so if you have any questions or comments or anything, this would be a pretty good time to ask them. Against a pot-sized dunk bet, yeah, I'll see if I can find the ace king hand. This is pretty close whether I want to raise or not. I think not. If he's gonna have a value hand, we often get to raise him on the turn, and basically the hands, yeah, basically if he has air, raising is the last thing we want to do. So flatting is without any reach, flatting is the best option, I think. Let's see if I can find the ace king hand. Yeah, So he 3-bets a we 3-bet and he calls, and then he calls a flop. I don't know how wide he opens, and I don't know how widely he calls my 3-bets from these positions, but I would assume that he's not gonna have too many draws, even on shots board, and he's gonna have some queen x hands even after checking back the turn, and pocket jacks, maybe pocket kings. It's like usually I think most opponents 4-bet kings and aces pre-flop and pocket queens, but some opponents don't have any 4-betting range, so it's pretty tough to say. But I think you can't take the full houses or quads or the very strong hands completely out of his range, even after his check back. And for us to call here, he would have to open quite many king x hands, and like king jack, and 10 call a flop and then bluff on the river, and maybe he would need to turn aces into a bluff, like ace x hands, or maybe he would need to call this flop c-bet with pairs 9 to whatever, like smaller pairs than 10s, and that's quite a lot guessing, in my opinion. I think most of those things just don't happen often enough for us to call here with ace king. So I would say he's more often going to have some type of slow played / pot controlled very good hand than a bluff. Yeah, with 2 overs against a small donk bet, we need to decide whether we want to call or basically get it in on the flop, and I think calling is pretty sweet option. And yeah, on the turn I think folding is just best after the 2 of spades. Suddenly after that turn card our equity goes down. So basically shoving a flop is a good option, because he's gonna have some bluffs and some like worse draws like 9/8 or whatever, but he bets so small that we get to realize our equity for a very good price. So I think calling in this case is the best option. It's pretty close, I think, but yeah. I'm going to isolate a cutoff limper, and he only has 26 big blinds, and this is a spot I want to have a fairly wide isolation range, so I'm just gonna 3x instead of 4xing or something. And we get a pretty good flop. Again, a spot I wouldn't bet too often in, so I'm gonna have a pretty big sizing, and this is a very good hand to have a big sizing because we don't block any of the pairs or two pairs or the, yeah, I don't think any of my villains is gonna have too many sets in their range, but yeah, I don't block any ace-x hands, so yeah, I saw the stack size in the king-queen hand, and that's why shoving the flop is an option. But when he opts to only bet half the pot on the turn, I think folding the turn is the definite option, and you could argue about the flop play, but I think with against bets that small, I think calling might be slightly better. He would actually need to have quite many donk bet bluffs or hands that he ends up donk betting and folding for us to make a for the shove to be better than calling is. So I think calling is in this case the better option. But yeah, we have had a few gifts. We got the 100 big blind UTG 4-bet shove again from the ace queen when we had ace king, and then we got the overbet on the river when we had a king queen from the middle pair when he narrowed his value range to very few combos. So basically, if you are going to play these games, that's gonna be how you are going to make your money, by getting gifts by your opponents. Donk betting is definitely an option, but I think this guy is going to continuation bet too often because he plays with $2 stack, and $2 stacks are very rarely going to be good. I don't really like his flat, but I would assume that once the continuation bet is so small that he's going to bet raise the better hands. So I'm just going to raise and trying to get it in against this short stack, and I don't really mind if both of my opponents fold. Also, I would think that this guy would 3-bet pre-flop most of the overpass on this board, and slash, or he would 3-bet or check raise the flush his against the small continuation bet or our raise. So I'm just going to value bet this turn against hands like 6x hands or king queen with 1 spade, or hands like this. I think if we lose to pair of 5s here, I think. Yeah, he had king queen with 1 spade, so this time our read was spot on. Yeah, I would have called some turns, but not the 2 of spades. I think it really, there's actually, if you run the simulations, there's quite a big difference on that turn, but that turn card, compared to many others. So 2 of spades, 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 The sweet thing about calling is that we get to fold on the very worst cards. Yeah, I haven't played too many fast fold games, but snap poker is definitely one of the softer ones. Basically because, well, pretty much all the games on 888Poker are fairly soft compared to others, but many regulars don't like the fact that you don't get to use hard. So therefore they are just not going to play this. There were actually some discussions, or I actually don't know whether one is able to play more than 2 snap pokers or snap poker game tables. Actually, this is pretty interesting because I'm able to open third NL10, a third snap poker table at the same level, or at the same stake, and I know that's something that hasn't been possible before. So this is pretty interesting actually. But yeah, I'm not gonna tree a table, I'm just going to put it away. But yeah, this is again a spot where I'm making an assumption that this guy would have three bet the very best ace-x hands he has, so he's usually bit capped in this pot, and we are obviously, like, he's not gonna have pocket aces or pocket kings or ace king or even ace queen, but we have all those hands. So this is one of the spots you can consider over betting the turn, and I would do this with the very best reels I have. Like if I had set of 5s or set of 8s, I would definitely consider this. And then again, I'm gonna do this with some of the draws I have. So not something that if you are just playing the ABC-ish style, over betting is something you might not be thinking about. So it's pretty interesting that now I can't open a third snap poker table at NL10. So I think I actually have no idea what's happened. No, now I can. Yeah, so I think they have increased the maximum number of snap poker tables at the same stake from 2 to 3. So that's new for me. And actually NL100 is running now, and it wasn't the last time I played at 888Poker. So few changes in the snap poker economy. I opted to 3-bet 10-9. It has a great playability, no blockers, but yeah. I felt like 3-betting. We face mean 3-bet again. flop a 10 high flush draw. He bets 3 times the pot, so this is a hand I'm not gonna continue with. So yeah, I thought only 2 tables, playing 2 tables is possible, but I was and I still am able to open a 3rd table for some reason. So this is a something that hasn't been allowed earlier, but for some reason is now. But yeah, for if you meant for the coaching, following more than 2 tables is pretty hard. And for chip leader, I actually have no idea. And yeah, I don't know. I quit playing at 888Poker pretty much after they took the heads-up tables away. So there are no heads-up cash game tables at 888Poker available at all. If you want to play heads-up, you have to play in a 6-max table, or you have to play a sit and go or sit and goes. So that's when I quit playing at 888Poker. And well, on December I got a bonus on 888Poker and decided to play some snap poker for a while. Well, I actually played quite a lot MTTs. 888Poker has pretty good MTT selection, and I play some of those as well. So, and I happened to win some money from MTTs, and then played some snap poker also. Well, yeah, I don't actually know what the rake is compared to some of the other softwares or other sites, but I think you are if you are winning player, you are going to get a better win rate for sure from these games that you would from another ones. So it kind of evens up the gap in rakes. This is a spot I actually don't know what my sizing should be. Oh, I'm not gonna bet. I misread my hand. I thought I turned a full house, so I would usually not raise the turn bet here. I don't know if I should be betting the river. He's gonna have ace queens in his range and something, so I'm just going to check back because I think we are going to win very often. Not something I expected, to be honest. Yeah, on table 2 I face a donk bet and we have top pair and flush draw, and I'm just going to call down every single run out. I just don't want him to I don't like the scenario where he is bluffing and I make him fold. Some hand I have totally crushed, so I'm just going to call down in this pot. There's pretty much no bad turn cards. Like queen is the one we don't want to see, but pretty much every single one, like we don't mind the diamond obviously, and like any other turn than a queen is not gonna hurt us. So, and he bet twice and folded the river. So maybe in this scenario we would have gotten money in against a like 10-9 of like 8-9 of diamonds or something, which we obviously also would have crushed, but he might have had like 9-8 of spades or something. That happens. It's not logical, but that happens. So I just wanted to be sure to get the maximum against that hands like that. We called a 3-bet. Could have 4-bet, could have folded. Didn't like folding. We have middle pair and backdoor flush draw, so I think calling is fine. Not going into continuation bet on the table number 2. He increases his sizing compared to the board size, so I'm just going to fold. King of Hearts is a card I'm not going to bet. I'm going to bet like big number of other turn cards, but not this one. And now I think I can make a small value, but if he has a 9, I'll just give him a chance to call. He had a jack high, which he wanted to call with. Yeah, the 888Poker sweep system is not as good as you might get from elsewhere, but if you think it that way, that if you are a good 6-max player and manage to get 5 big blinds per 100 from, let's say, PokerStars, and then suddenly you win 10 big blinds per 100 from 888Poker. I don't have calculations or anything, I don't know for sure, but I think having that big of a difference in a win rate will cover the gap in rakes and rakebacks and so on. So I think 888Poker is definitely a good option, even though you don't get too much of a rake back or any returns from the rake you pay. You get to play with in a 2005 poker games basically. So yeah, 5 more minutes or something with my rambling with English and so on. So if you have any questions, comments, anything, this is pretty much the last possibility to state them. This could be a spot where I might be overbetting the turn again, at least on some turn cards. So Pazazul, you play full ring at 888, or where do you play at? If you play at 888, what is the traffic like? Do you get to, how many tables do you get to play, and what stakes do you play? And I'm just being curious because I have a friend who played NL 200 or something, full ring on multiple sites, and 888 was one of them. But at some point the game is tried out pretty much. Here we called in position, and I'm going to call a continuation bet with very good top pair and backdoor draws. If he checks, I'm going to bet for value and as a protection, for protection. This is a hand I'm going to take into my check call range. I'm going to call once more, and unfortunately this is a river we have to fold on, I think. And here I'm going to value bet myself. Oh, FR. I was actually at first I was thinking if FR meant the French sides. But yeah, talking about full rings and the rake, it's free rolls. Rake in free rolls is usually good, so I get it. Clever. Oh, misclick. I'm going to sit out on the next big blind. So this is really the last chance to comment or ask or to do anything. So yeah, this is basically how the games are at the small stakes in snap poker. Against a donk bet, I think I'm just going to call. I don't like to raise and then face a 3-bet. And I just want to realize my equity cheaply, and against a big bet I'm going to fold. Yeah, this is big enough for me to fold. I have 9 outs maybe, so I don't quite get the right odds, and my 9 outs might not be live, so I think folding against the big bet is definitely the right option. Yeah, I'm just going to open. This is a pretty light open, but the last hand syndrome is always a good reason to do it, right? And yeah, I'm going to call a donk bet with middle pair, and against a big turn bet. I don't know why he would donk bet any good hands. Like if he had 9, would he donk bet? Maybe. But yeah, I'm just gonna fold. I don't like folding pairs, but sometimes you have to do it. So yeah, hopefully some of you got something out of this coaching session, and I actually haven't heard anything about bots at 888Poker. Only in the, I don't know if the 5 big blind games still exist at 888Poker, but if they do, that's the game I would be most worried about bots. And yeah, obviously always when there are no trackers in use in any game, the bots are more likely to be a problem, because you get to it's possible for you to never get caught, because yeah, but I haven't heard about bots being a problem at 888. So yeah, this was a good English lesson for me, and hopefully when and if we return in 2 weeks with some heads-up content, my English will be less rusty then, and hopefully some of you got something out of the small stakes 6 max as well. And yeah, that's basically it. If you have suggestions for the future comments, future poker nights, or any comments or feedback you want to leave me, you can do it. You can do it in the insiders area of our forums, and there I have my own little thread. But yeah, this was it for this night, and good luck to your games. Bye.